Cameroon, a nation of stunning diversity, where lush rainforests meet arid savannas and ancient traditions dance with modern life. It is a place of extraordinary natural beauty and immense cultural richness. But did you know its name comes from something quite small, something found swimming in the waters of a coastal river? It comes from prawns. This might seem like a simple, almost humble origin for the name of such a grand and varied country. Yet the story behind it is a fascinating journey through time, a tale that connects the natural world, ambitious human exploration, and the complex currents of history that have shaped this remarkable part of Africa. It is a reminder that the greatest of stories can often begin in the most unexpected of places. The name of a country often holds a key to its identity, a clue to its past, or a reflection of its people's aspirations. Some names speak of legendary founders, others of geographical features, and many of colonial encounters. The story of Cameroon's name is a wonderful blend of all these elements. It begins not with a king or a battle, but with the simple observation of nature by seafaring explorers who were new to these shores. They saw a river teeming with life, a bounty so impressive that it became the defining feature of the entire region in their eyes. This simple act of naming, based on an abundance of crustaceans, would set in motion a chain of events that would echo for centuries. Let us travel back in time, long before the borders of modern Cameroon were ever drawn on a map. Imagine a wide, winding river emptying into the Atlantic Ocean, its waters rich with nutrients carried from the volcanic highlands inland. This waterway was, and still is, a vital artery of life for the people who live along its banks. For countless generations, it has provided sustenance, a means of transport, and a spiritual connection to the land. The creatures living within its depths were part of the daily rhythm of existence. Little did anyone know that one of these creatures, a humble prawn, was destined to give its name to a future nation, a name that would endure through empires and revolutions. The connection between a name and the land it represents is a powerful one. In this case, the name Cameroon serves as a permanent link to the natural world, a testament to the biological richness that first captivated foreign visitors. It tells a story not of conquest, but of discovery and wonder. It invites us to look closer at the world around us and consider how the smallest of details can have a lasting and profound impact on human history. As we delve into this story, we uncover more than just the origin of a word. We uncover the very soul of a nation, shaped by its rivers, its people, and the tides of history that have washed upon its shores. Today, Cameroon is a vibrant and dynamic country, often called Africa in miniature because it contains all the major climates and vegetation zones of the continent. From the dense, humid rainforests in the south to the sweeping, dry savannas of the north, its landscape is a breathtaking mosaic. At the heart of this nation is its political capital, Yaoundé, a city built across 7 hills, where government buildings stand amidst bustling markets and green, rolling terrain. It is a city of administrators and diplomats, but it is also a place where the diverse cultures of Cameroon converge, creating a lively and colorful urban environment that reflects the nation's complex character. While Yaoundé is the political center, the economic heartbeat of the country is found in the sprawling coastal city of Douala. Situated on the estuary of the Wouri River, the very river that gave the country its name, Douala is the nation's largest city and its main port. It is a hub of commerce and industry, a place where goods from all over the world arrive and from where Cameroon's own products like cocoa, coffee, and timber are shipped out. The city's energy is palpable, a constant thrum of activity that speaks to its vital role in connecting Cameroon to the global economy. Douala is a city built on trade, a modern testament to the same spirit of exchange that first brought explorers to its shores. What truly defines Cameroon, however, is its incredible human diversity. The country is home to more than 250 different ethnic groups, each with its own unique language, traditions, and cultural practices. This rich tapestry of peoples includes the Bantu groups of the south, the Fulani pastoralists of the north, and the Kurdi communities of the Mandara Mountains, among many others. This cultural wealth is one of Cameroon's greatest treasures, but it has also been a source of complexity in forging a single national identity. The country has 2 official languages, French and English, a legacy of its colonial past that adds another layer to its multifaceted society. Navigating this diversity is central to the Cameroonian experience. It is a nation where a journey of just a few hundred kilometers can take you into a completely different cultural and linguistic world. This variety is celebrated in the country's music, its art, and its cuisine, creating a vibrant national culture that is constantly evolving. From the rhythms of Makossa music, which originated in Douala, to the intricate beadwork of the Bamileke people, Cameroon is a living museum of human creativity. Understanding this modern context is essential to appreciating the long and winding path that led from a simple river of prawns to the complex and fascinating nation we see today. Our story takes us back to the 15th century, a time of great exploration known as the Age of Discovery. European mariners, particularly the Portuguese, were venturing further and further down the coast of Africa, driven by a desire for new trade routes to the east and a thirst for knowledge about the unknown world. Around the year 1472, a Portuguese expedition led by the navigator Fernão do Po sailed into the Bight of Biafra. As they explored the coastline, they came across a wide estuary, a place where a large river emptied its fresh water into the salty Atlantic. This was the waterway we now know as the Wouri River. The Portuguese sailors were astounded by what they found in this river. The waters were teeming with an incredible abundance of aquatic life. In particular, they were struck by the sheer quantity of a certain type of crustacean, the ghost shrimp or mud lobster, which belongs to the family Lepidophthalmus turneranus. These were not the small shrimp one might imagine, but large, prawn-like creatures that swarmed in the muddy riverbed. For these explorers who had spent months at sea, such a rich source of food was a remarkable and welcome discovery. The bounty was so overwhelming that it became the single most memorable feature of this new place they had found. In the tradition of the time, explorers often named new lands after saints, kings, or prominent geographical features. In this case, the Portuguese were so impressed by the profusion of these prawns that they named the river after them. They called it Rio dos Camarões, which in Portuguese translates directly to River of Prawns. The word Cameros is the plural for prawns or large shrimp. This name, born from a moment of natural wonder and culinary delight, was marked on their charts and carried back to Europe. It was a simple descriptive name, but it would stick, forever linking this part of the African coast to the creatures in its waters. This act of naming was more than just a geographical label. It was the first step in connecting this region to the wider world. The name Rio dos Camarões began to appear on European maps, drawing other traders and explorers to its shores. The river and the surrounding coastal areas became known simply as Cameros. The Portuguese did not establish a large permanent colony here, but they did set up trading posts, dealing in goods and tragically in enslaved people. The name they had given the river, inspired by its natural abundance, was now firmly attached to the land and its people in the minds of Europeans. A name, once given, can take on a life of its own, changing and adapting as it passes through different languages and cultures. This is precisely what happened to Rio dos Camarões. As other European powers followed the Portuguese to the West African coast, they adopted the name but translated it into their own tongues. The name's journey is a linguistic map of colonial influence. For English-speaking sailors and traders, the Portuguese Cameros was anglicized. The sound was softened and simplified, eventually becoming the familiar name we use today, Cameroun. It was a gradual and natural evolution of the word as it was spoken and written by English mariners and cartographers over the centuries. The French, who would also come to play a significant role in the region's history, made their own adaptation. In French, the name became Cameroun. This version retains a closer sound to the original Portuguese, but with a spelling and pronunciation that fit neatly within the French language. This linguistic shift was not just a matter of translation, it was a reflection of the growing French interest and presence in the area. The names Cameroon and Cameroun would come to represent two distinct spheres of influence, two different colonial approaches that would one day have to find a way to merge. The most significant transformation, however, came in the late 19th century. During the scramble for Africa, when European nations competed fiercely to carve up the continent, Germany arrived on the scene. In 1884, the German diplomat Gustav Nachtigal signed a treaty with the local Douala kings, establishing a German protectorate over the region. The Germans, in turn, adapted the name to fit their own language. Cameros became Cameroun. This was not just a change in spelling, it marked the beginning of a formal, centralized colonial administration. The Protectorate of Cameroun was born, and its borders were gradually expanded inland, far beyond the original River of Prawns. Thus, a single Portuguese name had spawned three different European versions: the English Cameroon, the French Cameroon, and the German Cameroon. Each name represented a different imperial power, a different language of administration, and a different colonial policy. The original meaning, the River of Prawns, was still there, but it was now layered with the complexities of European rivalries and ambitions. The journey of this name perfectly mirrors the journey of the land itself, as it was passed from one colonial power to another, its identity constantly being reshaped by outside forces. The simple name of a river had become a label for a contested colonial territory. The establishment of the German Protectorate of Cameroun in 1884 marked a new era for the region. The Germans were determined to build a model colony, and they invested heavily in infrastructure. They built railways, roads, and bridges connecting the coast to the interior to facilitate the export of agricultural products like rubber, palm oil, and cocoa. Plantations were established, and the city of Douala, on the Wouri estuary, was expanded and developed as the main port and commercial center. The German administration was efficient but often brutal, imposing its will through force and fundamentally altering the social and economic structures of the societies it governed. This period of German rule, however, was relatively short-lived. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 brought the conflict between European powers directly to African soil. Cameroun, as a German colony, became a target for the Allied forces of Britain and France. British troops invaded from Nigeria in the west, while French forces advanced from French Equatorial Africa in the east. The campaign was long and difficult, fought in challenging terrain, but by 1916, the German forces had been defeated and had surrendered. The fate of the German colony of Cameroun now lay in the hands of the victorious Allies. After the war, the newly formed League of Nations was tasked with deciding the future of Germany's former colonies. Instead of granting them independence, the territories were divided between Britain and France as mandates. Cameroun was officially partitioned in 1922. France was given the larger eastern portion of the territory, which constituted about 4/5 of the former German colony. This territory became French Cameroun. Britain was allocated two smaller non-contiguous strips of land along the border with its colony of Nigeria. These became British Cameroons, which were administered as part of Nigeria. This division had profound and lasting consequences. It split ethnic groups and communities that had long-standing cultural and economic ties. The arbitrary lines drawn by the colonial powers cut across ancient kingdoms and trade routes, creating an artificial separation. The two territories were now set on different paths. French Cameroun was governed under the French policy of assimilation, with French becoming the language of administration and education. British Cameroons, meanwhile, was administered under the British system of indirect rule, with English as the official language. This colonial split created two distinct political and cultural identities within the land that had once been a single German colony. As the mid-20th century dawned, a powerful wave of nationalism and calls for independence swept across Africa. In French Cameroun, this movement was particularly strong and at times, violent. Political parties emerged, demanding an end to colonial rule. One of the most prominent was the Union des Populations du Cameroun, or UPC, which advocated for full independence and the reunification of the British and French territories. After years of political struggle and armed insurgency, France finally granted independence to its mandate. On January 1, 1960, French Cameroun became a sovereign nation, adopting the name La République du Cameroun, or the Republic of Cameroon. The new nation proudly kept the name that had defined it for so long. The story of the River of Prawns had become an integral part of its identity, a name that had endured through Portuguese, German, and French rule. The first president of the independent republic was Ahmadou Ahidjo. His immediate challenge was not only to build a new nation from the diverse ethnic groups within the former French territory, but also to address the question of the neighboring British Cameroons. The people there were also on a path to self-determination, and their future remained uncertain. The United Nations, which had taken over from the League of Nations, organized a plebiscite in British Cameroons in February 1961. The people were given a choice to achieve independence by joining the neighboring already independent Federation of Nigeria, or to join with the newly independent Republic of Cameroon. The outcome of the vote reflected the territory's own internal divisions. The northern part of British Cameroons, which had closer cultural and economic ties to the north of Nigeria, voted to join Nigeria. The southern part, however, voted overwhelmingly to reunify with the Republic of Cameroon. This historic decision led to the unification of the two territories. On October 1, 1961, the Federal Republic of Cameroon was born, uniting the former French-speaking and English-speaking regions into a single bilingual state. It was a moment of great hope and optimism, a rare instance in post-colonial Africa, where territories divided by European powers chose to come back together. The name Cameroon was retained for the unified country, now symbolizing not a colonial division, but a shared aspiration for unity. The two parts of the country, with their different colonial legacies, languages, and administrative systems, began the complex and ongoing process of becoming one nation. From a simple observation of nature to a name carried across empires, the story of Cameroon is truly remarkable. The name that began as Rio dos Camarões has become a powerful national symbol. It is a constant reminder of the country's deep connection to its natural environment. The Wouri River, where those first prawns were discovered, remains the economic lifeblood of the nation, home to its largest city and busiest port, Douala. The river that gave the country its name continues to nourish it, a living link between the past and the present. The prawn, a humble creature of the river, has been elevated to a status of national importance. The name's journey also encapsulates the country's complex history of colonial encounters. It passed from Portuguese to German, then to French and English, with each empire leaving its mark on the land and its people. Yet the name itself endured, outlasting the empires that adopted it. When Cameroon achieved independence and reunification, the people chose to keep the name. In doing so, they transformed it from a colonial label into a symbol of their own sovereign identity and national pride. It became a name that belonged not to Portugal, Germany, Britain, or France, but to the people of Cameroon themselves. Today, the name Cameroon represents the nation's hope for unity in diversity. In a country with 2 official languages and over 250 ethnic groups, having a single name with a shared neutral origin is a powerful unifying force. It does not come from a single ethnic group or a dominant tribe. It comes from a feature of the natural world that belongs to everyone. It speaks to a common heritage that predates colonial divisions and internal politics. The story of the River of Prawns is a story that all Cameroonians can share, a foundational myth that connects them all to the same piece of land and the same remarkable history. Reflecting on this journey, we see how a name can connect the threads of nature, history, and identity. The story of Cameroon is written in its rivers, its landscapes, and the resilience of its people. It is a tale of how a chance encounter with the natural world more than 500 years ago gave birth to a name that would witness the rise and fall of empires and the birth of a proud, independent nation. The River of Prawns flows on, a symbol of abundance, endurance, and the beautiful, complex soul of Cameroon. If this story gave you new insight, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which country's name should we uncover next? Drop your suggestion below.